Hello everyone, welcome to the Old Man in the Read. My name is Jerry. Today I'm going to talk about the books I've read by Bashevis Singer, or Bashevis Singer. Singer was born in 1903 and died in 1991. He was a Polish-born Jewish American writer. He wrote novels, short stories, and memoirs. He won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1978, but he had actually moved to the U.S. in 1935. He wrote over 20 novels and 11 short story compilations. His books were first published in Yiddish and then translated. He was the son of a Hasidic rabbi, so most of his books are very much about Orthodox Judaism, are related to that. But they have a very noticeable Jewish bent to them. There's been some really outstanding Jewish writers throughout history, but Singer is probably considered just about the best of those. He just really was an exceptionally good writer. So anyway, I'll show you the books I've read by him and say a little bit about him. The first book I have is Satan in Gore. This was published in 1933. And this is a story based in a small Polish village during the 17th century. And it's about the city or the village going into religious hysteria with the foretelling of the coming of a Jewish Messiah. The main character in the book is Rachel, and she's epileptic, but she is versed in scripture and mysticism. In 1950, he published The Family Moscat. This is a family saga, and it takes place from just before World War I on into World War II. But it's about mostly Eastern European Jews and focuses primarily on the Moscat family. And it has to do with the family's downfall, but also the book is about the destruction of an entire culture. In 1961, he published The Spinoza of Market Street. This is a short story compilation. I think there's 11 short stories in it. They're pretty much all based around very Orthodox Jewish beliefs, and a couple of them are rather dark and satanic. A couple of them that I thought were the best. The title story, The Spinoza of Market Street, is about a philosopher who follows the Spinoza ethics until he enters into a romance that alters his life. Another is another story, A Piece of Advice, and this is about a man who is always angry. Nobody likes him, so his rabbi advises him to speak gentle words even when he's angry, and this brings peace to his life. In 1962, he published The Slave. This is a story based in the 17th century, and it's about a Jewish slave who's been held for several years, but is eventually able to ransom himself for his freedom. He then marries the daughter of his master, and the two of them escape. And the story is basically about the difficulties of a Jewish man married to a Gentile wife, and much of it focuses on the atrocities that Jews faced during this period. In 1967, he published The Manor. This follows a man, Kalman Jacobi, who takes over a Polish manor after he's become successful. And it's the story is about how he becomes less observant of his Jewish traditions as time goes by. And this is based in the late 1800s. I guess this was a period when many Jews were leaving traditional Judaism and becoming more European. In 1969, he published A Day of Pleasure. This is a memoir where Singer is talking about his childhood years growing up in the Jewish quarters of Warsaw, Poland. The memoir is written in short story format, so each of the short stories is about a various period in his life. In 1970, he published A Friend of Kafka. This is another short story compilations. It's just some really excellent short stories in it. Singer just develops some really great characters in some of his stories. I thought some of the stories in this were probably based on actual facts in his life, but most of them were fictional. But the best of the stories, I thought, was one titled The Son. It's just really an excellent story. And this is about a father who's waiting for his son to get off of a ship. He hadn't seen his son in over 20 years when the boy was 5 years old. In 1972, he published Enemies, a Love Story, and this is about a man who had survived the Nazis by hiding in a hayloft. He had been married before and just assumed that his wife had been killed by the Nazis. So after the war, he eventually married the woman who had been hiding him, and the two of them moved to New York. While he was in New York, then he took up a mistress and was trying to hide that from his wife, when suddenly his first wife from Poland, who he thought was dead, appeared, and the story goes from there. In 1974, he published A Crown of Feathers. This is another short story compilation, and most of these seem to deal with the occult and with demons. But the title story, A Crown of Feathers, is about a young woman who refuses a marriage contract after the spirit of her grandmother had told her not to marry the man, and then the spirit of her grandfather appeared and insisted she honor the contract. But so one of them she knew was the devil. So then her entire life she's tormented by the devil, and when she's an old woman, she decides that she's going to try to reconcile with the man who she had been supposed to marry years before. And the last book I have, published in 1988, The Death of Methuselah, and other stories. Just another really excellent short story compilation. And again, very Jewish oriented stories. But the best, I thought, was one titled Disguised. And it's about a young woman who is abandoned shortly after her marriage. Her husband had disappeared, and so she set out in search of him. She searched for several years, but eventually found him, and he was living with another man in a gay relationship. So anyway, those are the books I read by Isaac Bashevis Singer. Exceptional writer, wrote some really great stories, some of them with a really nice little humorous bent to them, but just excellent writer. So I want to thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you on another video. Thanks.